bi-weekly meeting podcast for the OWASP Top 10 for Large Language Model Applications. If you'd like to stay up to date with our project, please click subscribe. And if you enjoy the content or have any questions, please feel free to comment and share. Now, on to our meeting.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So this is the bi-weekly meeting for the OWASP Top 10 for Generative AI and LLM application security on December 4th, 2024. So wanted to go through a few items of business. We've made a couple of changes, as some folks have, hopefully the folks obviously who've attended this meeting have discovered that we have changed the link that we have for this meeting. We think we've got it updated everywhere. If there's some places that we haven't had updated, let me know. I believe ads is working to make sure the calendar is updated. I don't believe that got updated possibly until today. So if you have a calendar invite, you might want to update it. But this will be our link going forward. So we're very thankful to F5, who has been providing us the link to date. They made the change to Teams, and we were fortunate enough also to get a link dedicated to the project that we could use from the OWASP team. So that's what this link is, and it's going to be our link kind of going forward. All right, so from last week, I wanted to also make sure I said we'd do a quick update on our launch statistics. So last couple of weeks ago, we launched the top 10 for LLM. I wanted to share a little bit around the coverage from that particular launch. So we did both a combination of PR, analyst outreach, and social media. So just to give you some numbers, we got close to 300 pickups. That's different publications that have picked up the news and are propagating it, which gets us a pretty decent sized audience. We were fortunate to get a number of articles that were generated. So both from InfoSecurity Magazine, Bursting Labs, there's a few that are listed here. We got roughly 12 articles out of that release, which kind of helped tell the story a little bit more. We had an opportunity for some more things that are coming up. There's some additional podcasts and other things that I'll be reaching out to team members to pull them into that will be part of that. And so we're continuing to get more interest in outreach. We also had the opportunity, both Forrester, Gartner, Richmond, and other analyst firms have been reached out to us to get a briefing. So I've been able to brief each of those analyst firms. I have an upcoming briefing with IDC and a second one with Gartner. So we're getting analyst interest as well, which is great. So the whole goal here of doing this, investing in PR, is to get more of the story of the project and what we're doing out. We were able to leverage social media. So of the posts we got out, we got close to 40,000 views. We got close to 800 likes and reposts. Now, this doesn't represent everything that people have reposted and the roll-up completely, because we don't have complete tracking and everything, but it gives us a sense for, the reach that we've been able to get to, which was pretty good. I think for this, as we look at what the last announcements were, we definitely see an uptick in terms of views. And so that means what we're doing is getting out and people are recognizing that a bit more. I'm going to continue to try to refine our metrics and how we track this stuff so that we can have an ongoing view. Much as I shared in the last meeting, we'll have some ongoing comparative statistics so that we're understanding how our community is growing, what things we need to be doing to help support and communicate what we're doing out to folks so they become educated around the great work that the community is putting together. Just a quick uptake from our LinkedIn group. So we also had, you can see the spike here of the announcement, which was a huge lift in our LinkedIn members. So we added over 500 followers just in that little bit of window of time between the 18th and the 24th. We're always continuing to add followers, which is great. And it's 84% increased month over month. So that's a great step for us for that announcement. We'll also be working on future announcements, but I wanted to share details around this one. So are there any questions folks have?
Just a quick note that we were eking towards 3,000 for a time as far as followers are concerned, and now it's like towards 3,000, and now 4,000 is like right there. So
Yeah.
it's amazing that we made such a jump so quickly. Oh,
Yeah.
and I would say if you're looking at LinkedIn, please feel free, repost all this, share all the stuff that we do, reshare.
Yes, please do, because we're trying to continue to, grow our community, grow people of interest. So do share what you can. And if you are interested in helping contribute to the sharing, we're always open for folks to help us both create LinkedIn posts and continue to, promote the work that the project is doing. So we're going to try to get to a point where we have a calendar of things that are going on, and that's going to be part of the planning we do for 2025.
Our niche with a hand up.
Yeah, I think like just one quick point on when you're talking LinkedIn, when you're like reposting, always try to actually do like a repost with comments always. Because if you just do a repost, it doesn't based on the LinkedIn algorithm, it doesn't actually get picked up that easily. But if you do a repost with comments, it the penetration that it has, the expanse it has, it's more effective.
Yeah, thanks, Anish, for that extra pointer. Yeah, that will help significantly. Other comments, thoughts? So we'll just go into lead reports. So I'll turn this one over to Aubrey.
Yeah, so we have a brand new podcast. So rather than just making the meeting into a podcast and kind of using that as a vehicle or mechanism to kind of get the word out there as quickly as possible in an easy to consume fashion, we're actually doing a real podcast. So where we talked about what we were doing for Thanksgiving plans and things like that, like just like normal people, and then we're going to focus on approachable topics from what our project is pumping out. So what you're going to find is this will be every 2 weeks. So opposite, kind of like the red teaming, interest team does right now. They go on the opposite week from the meeting, but we're meeting around the exact same time. But the idea is to have once every 2 weeks, putting out a new episode and just making sure that we've got some deeper dives on some of the projects that we're working on. So next week, I think we are going to have a deep dive on red teaming with Krishna. He's going to actually show and talk to us a little bit about what that's about, let people know when the meeting is, et cetera, et cetera. Just again, trying to get the word out there and trying to make sure that people have all the info on what it is that we do here with this project.
Yeah, and I think you were talking about Aubrey kind of putting in sort of a news section. So as we kind of go along, maybe there'll be an opportunity to kind of capture what's in the news. We can cover things like exploits that are fresh off the boat, and ones that we can start to get out to folks as well. So yeah,
right, and that's a great point, Scott. I do want to say, if you want to come on and kind of as a community member, you're interested in podcasting more, you want to maybe co-host, you got to bring a news article. that's the one kind of thing. If you want to come on and be on it, I want you to bring a news article or a talking point.
Well, can I suggest one thing that I think is big is the model context protocol? Does anyone know about that? Claude MCP. So, okay, there you go.
Topic.
It's gonna be huge.
Okay.
And it's out there already. There's like 60-second demos you can do. This you set it up pretty quickly, and basically, it'll write SQL, it'll do connectors to the file system, all sorts of things. So Claude is a natural language processing interface to whatever data store, file system, database, whatever, and that's going to be very easy to use. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Claude is blowing my mind, actually. I mean, the desktop control thing was just like, give me a break.
Yeah, well, this is the next layer beyond that, and then plus AWS just put another couple of $1 billion into them, and they're building this massive data center, right? So, fasten your seatbelts, right? So,
that's right. It's going to be a great year.
And
That's
Aubrey,
right.
just one specific comment for the podcast itself, to ensure like there is wider visibility. I think before a podcast episode is rolled out, we should create like a like some noise that this podcast episode is coming, so that there is interest happening even ahead of time, right? Rather like after the fact, because then it's nobody really I think people definitely listen to it, but I think if you start ahead of that one, you'll get like so much more presence felt.
Yeah, I think you're right. I used to do it actually for the meeting podcast. I used to just go out there and do a quick, hey, we're going to have a meeting and here's what we're going to be talking about and blah blah blah. And it did actually bring some more people from off our social media. That's a great idea. I'll do that before the red teaming one this week, especially because that one is probably going to generate a ton of interest.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the more that we can do, I mean, as we start doing these, people will get to know about it and they'll be able to go back and look at past episodes, et cetera. But I think both promoting it ahead of time and promoting it after, we should work that into the planning cycle for our, outreach. So we've got that for all the things we're doing.
And I think piggybacking what Russell was also saying, I think the 60-second stuff, a quick stuff, or a YouTube short, or whatever platform that we want to actually use, like having like a small snippet is also going to be very effective.
Yep.
Yep.
Agreed. I've got some interesting ideas for that coming up. So just requires a couple conversations.
Yep. Yeah, and we also now have our webinar platform as well, so we can now go ahead and host those as well. So we can do a combination of webinars, snippets, podcasts. Right now, we've got all the capabilities. We just need to continue to build the content and to do the promotion and get it into a rhythm. And I think it'll help quite a bit in terms of our awareness and reach.
It would be neat to have a capture the flag webinar. Just saying. That would be fun.
I just had that proposed, in fact. There's a couple of folks who proposed that. I'm taking a look at seeing what we can do to kind of enable that, because we actually have the capabilities. We just have to put it on the schedule and plan it at this point. But there's definitely an interest in doing that. Capture the flag would be awesome. And we have someone who stepped up and said, hey, I'll be happy to kind of lead the capture the flag. I don't have their name in front of me right now, but I think it'll be a good addition to what we're doing. Cool. Any more suggestions, comments? All right. Over to red teaming. I think, Jason, you're going to take us through this.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it. So the team's done a lot of work on the doc. Berenice, I know you've been part of that as well. It's in kind of like a rough draft shape. And we're just kind of going through some final comments and things like that. There's a couple weeks of work left to polish it up and get it ready for release. There's a couple of questions that Krishna had and that the team is looking for direction on, and that's what the rest of these kind of are. The first one is there availability for a tech editor to do some kind of going through and cleaning up and wordsmithing? I don't know that we do that for any of the other documents, so I'm not sure if that's even an option, but that was one of the questions.
Yeah, that's one of the, and Krishna asked me on that specifically. So I'm in the process of trying to get a tech editor online now that we have funding to go do that sort of thing. So I've got a couple of people I'm talking to, and hopefully we can get that closed out. I was trying to close it out last week, but unfortunately a few folks are overcommitted that we originally talked to, so I'm looking for some other folks. If you also have folks that you are comfortable with that you'd like to recommend in that are doing tech editing, I'm open to talking to them as well. But we have the budget, so that's what it's for.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll let him follow up with you then, and I'll just take that back to him, let him know that that's in process.
Yep.
I think the next two kind of go together, translation and PDF, and what is the process for release. So I think we need to understand what that process looks like. I have a rough idea from some of the other things that I do with the team.
Yep.
But I think we're just looking for guidance on what does it look like and how do we engage people to do translations?
Yeah, and I think we need to expand what we're doing for translations. I don't know if I'm trying to see who else is on the line right now, whether Tulish is on the line or not. We need to see how we can expand translations past what we're doing just for the top 10, because we have that for others. I think the first goal would be to focus on getting a PDF release out. We could do it one of two ways. We could do it with just an initial PDF creation of the template, using the template that we've created, and kind of go through that process on a manual basis, and then need to work on the build process that we'd had for the top 10 for LLM. If we can start to incorporate that for other documents, that would be great. We haven't done that yet. So the other documents have been basically released as PDFs going through a release candidate process where we create a version of the document in a PDF format, send it out as a release candidate. With that release candidate, take any inputs or changes, and then version that out to generate the PDF. So that's the most direct way we've been doing it. And then that's what I would suggest for this project initially, and then we should look at to see whether we can start to use the PDF build system for other documents.
Makes sense.
But I don't necessarily want it to be a bottleneck in getting the materials published, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. No, that makes sense. I think that answers that. And then the last question we had was, how do we get this added to the initiative page?
The link just gets added. So just put the request in with me, and I'll make sure that gets added. And we'll have this part of the plan also as we're getting into the 2025, launch planning and release planning for promotion of assets. We'll start to have effectively a minimum kind of launch pattern we'll do for each of these resources as they become available. So when is a target, we think, for the final? I think it's still January. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. January for this. And then we've got a couple of sub-initiatives that are spinning up that we're still working through, where we're going to do things like testing, like technical testing guides and things like that.
There's the testing guide that we talked about, because we do have a couple of organizations who are putting together their own testing guides and then wanted to work with us on that. So they're already partway done on that. So I thought that was a good opportunity for us to kind of jumpstart that process. I'm also going to be meeting with some other organizations that reached out to us to try to help participate or want to help participate or contribute to some of the testing work. So I have some initial conversations over the next week, and I'll want to figure out kind of what they are looking or how they're looking to help contribute, and then potentially can bring additional resources on board. We are getting a lot of folks that are coming to me, at least, asking how can I participate in these initiatives. So when you're thinking about like testing or other initiatives, think about how we want to incorporate more support, more help into the project.
Anish has a question again.
Yes.
Yeah, not really a question. I think one of the things I've used in the past, there are like some translation services. I'm not sure if you want to actually explore, because that might be slightly inexpensive based on how many documents we are getting translated. Instead of paying somebody full time or like on an hourly basis, that translation services might be something that we can explore. Again, like I've done that. Not that I'm suggesting we should do it, but I think that's an option we should definitely explore. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's great. That's a great suggestion. I know people have been volunteering their time to do some of the translations, so we can see how much we can kind of marry the volunteer process that Alessia has put together with where we might need to invest to do some translations or pay for some translations, and kind of mix that together. He is working right now for us on putting together a roadmap, just like we've done a roadmap of all the projects and the content related to that. There's a translation roadmap in process that he was working on, and I hope to have by the end of the week the initial copy of that to share.
Okay. And just one more thing that I probably wanted to highlight specifically for the red teaming itself. So in one of the conversations that I had with Krishna itself, I was like, how do you make this document consumable by different personas in an organization, right from your CFO to your people who are actually doing the stuff? So one of the things that we realized, and I think it's already there in the guide now, is at the very top there is an executive summary on that one, right? And I think any new initiative that we do, we should also think from Because sometimes you would need to propose a redeeming to your management or your CFO. This is why we are putting like 100K or 200K on this one, right? Like, what does it mean, right?
Yeah.
There should be some section which is fairly high level, fairly like simple English. If we can include that at the very top, the document becomes more relatable and consumable by every possible person in an organization. Not everybody needs to read the all 60 pages. So sometimes people just need.
Yeah, Scott and I talked about this specifically, that target audience is no longer devs, right? I mean, OWASP has been classically hands-on devs, dev managers, but we're talking about CFOs, chief legal officers, CEOs, boards even. So I'm putting together as part of this, what are the audiences? What's the map of the different documents we have already? And a kind of a you are here. And maybe we can come up with a legend of something, say, hey, for 5-year-olds or executives, read here, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that it's a good point that we need to make sure we're broadening our audience by at least having things such as a executive summary or a summary section. I think with I know with some of the documents that I worked on, the solutions guide and the COE guide, we tried to do at least a top line kind of summary. So it would be good to kind of make sure we're consistent across the documents and making sure we have that kind of executive summary for folks.
So Russell, maybe what I can do is the executive summary that I wrote, which is already there. Maybe you can actually take a look at that, review it, and also if you can take some pieces from that one and make it more templatized itself, so that it can be used in other projects itself in the future. I think feel free to do that, but I'll follow up with you offline if that's okay.
Okay.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Next item. Oh, sorry. Any other questions on red teaming before I jump? Sorry. Okay, so Emmanuel said he wasn't going to be able to be here for this meeting, but he wanted to share the slides. So he's in the process of both putting together the data security best practices white paper. That's in progress. I know he's been taking in comments of it. I've done a review of it and provided some suggestions as well. I think there's working to try to trim it down. It's a detailed document, and I think which is awesome. I think we need to just also make sure that they're consumable. And to a little bit to your point, Anish, is we need to make sure there's some good summary sections that are there to make it usable, even more usable. So he's working on that, and so people. Please jump in if you have expertise around data security and want to contribute to the best practices around that. Obviously, data is a central part of LLM security and generative AI security, and so this is going to be a very useful document for organizations.
I can actually help out with that one. That's something that I'm kind of leading in for one of my clients itself, so that's definitely up my alley. If that was a question or ask for people to volunteer, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I'm always advertising for more people to bring their expertise to each of the projects. So yes, so if you have expertise in this area, if you're listening to, so Arnish, please feel free to do that. If you're listening to this podcast listen to me. This meeting afterward, please feel free to go ahead and jump into the project as well and contribute on the data security. And it's on the data gathering Slack. So you'll find that Slack channel. Also, if you go and you're looking at where to find Slack channels and where to get engaged, and I should have created a slide for this, on the new roadmap link on the website, which gives a link to our overall project roadmap. I also included a image or slide that includes the owners of each of the different initiatives, the specific Slack channels, so that you can easily get engaged. So if you're listening to this after the fact, you can go to the genai.owasp.org/roadmap, and within that you'll see the where to get to and who to reach out to for each of the individual current initiatives.
Yeah, I'll also add something. I've done some work in that. I've got contacts at the classic data management like Varonis and security who've actually got products even and roadmaps and tools. And security has specific training, self-paced training you can do around these areas as well, which can be useful. So that adds to our list. One other thing I got to drop is this, does anyone know the group AI LA? So they're pretty active. They've got their holiday party next week, which I'll go to. But they've got a policy group. They've got a responsible AI symposium coming up middle of next year. A different group. So I'll find out what connections are there, and we can overlap some things that make sense.
Yeah, that would be great. Let's see, a couple of quick updates we have a new silver sponsor. Cobalt just signed on as a new silver sponsor. So we're continuing to see more sponsors come on board, which is great because it's going to help us continue to do the work we're doing, help us fund those activities. So we're in the process of getting them onboarded, as well as some of these others. We'll make them part of the planning process that we're kind of going through with the go-to-market and marketing coming up for 2025. So they'll be jumping into other projects as well. We're continuing to make progress toward our 200K goal. We're inching our way there. We're just about 15K away from the 200K goal for the 2024 funding for the project. So I know we have a couple more sponsors who are in process right now. So hopefully we will get those closed out and we'll get to our 200K goal. We're definitely inching our way there. I think we obviously added some more since the last call that we just had. So we'll just keep that running. A reminder, we have our 2025 outreach, our planning meeting. We're working on what our go-to-market is for bringing together both team members and also our sponsors to help us put together what we're going to be doing at key events like RSA, other milestone events like Black Hat and others along the way. So everything we're going to do from an outreach perspective, webinars we want to conduct, topics for the podcast, for example, so that we have an organized kind of approach and understand where we might need to spend some of our budget to be able to both do more outreach and also increase some of the co-sponsorships that we're doing. So we want to get the plan together by the end of December, so that we're good to go for the first part of January for 2025. So that's a weekly meeting. Please feel free to join if you'd like to contribute and be part of that. Last little touch on our website says we're continuing to see, the uptick from the announcements we've made and the pickup of the content. Just wanted to share some updated stats. So we are continuing to look at rather than looking at 7-day, I'm looking at a 30-day highlights. So we're continuing to see growth on our views. We're up over 100% on both our views and visitors month over month. That's great. That continues to see that solid growth. Just in the last 30 days, we had nearly 20,000 new users. So new people to the site, first time they've been visiting to the site. So that's huge as well. So that helps us, both as I broaden our audience, build our broader community. That's great progress. We want to continue to see their growth. We're getting close to 600 on our GitHub stars. So continuing to recognize the work of the team and its contribution and value to the community. Now it's time for open discussion. So does anybody have any open items that we didn't cover that they'd like to discuss? Or any questions on any of the materials we've presented so far? Silence says everybody's happy.
This may be a quick one.
This may be a quick one. Yep. I had a feeling. I hope everybody who was able to find the link got the link. If you didn't, good news is we're recording this, so you'll be able to listen to this afterward. And then for our future meetings, make sure that you've got your links updated to go ahead and join us. I'll ask any last comments or questions from folks. Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody and thank everybody who's going to be watching this on demand. We'll close the session at this time. Thank you.
Have a great one. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for checking out our bi-weekly meeting podcast. If you'd like to stay up to date on all the latest news for the OWASP Top 10 for Large Language Model Applications, please click subscribe. And of course, we'd appreciate it if you'd share with a friend to grow our community. We'll see you in 2 weeks.